Okay, so the fabrication unit, we need to make this sill section so that we can then cut a piece out of it and then weld it back in again after. It's a little bit complicated to make though, so we're just going to have to try and work out how to do it. We've got 3 pieces, so we want 3 pieces of metal. They're all 400 long. Yeah. But then we've got to work out the size of them. So this one here, the inner one, shaped like this. We've got some measurements. We've got 20mm and we've got 15mm because we can find it on there. Yeah. So and we've got 135. So you've got 135 here. You've got 2 20s there and there. You've got 2 15s. Then you've got to add them all together. Yeah? So 5, 10, 15 goes there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those add the 2 together, 205. So we've got one sheet of metal will be 400 times 205. So the next one on here hasn't quite got the overall size, but we have to work that out, won't we? Because we know it's 135, because this plate will go the same height. So you've got 135 plus 15 plus 15. So the next one, 1, 3, 5, 15, 15. Add it up, 15 under here. 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 1, 165. So number 2 is going to be 400 times 165. These are in millimetres. So now we've got to find this last one out. This last one is quite complicated. So I'll just draw it up here. So we've got like this, like this, like this, down, curve, and then the bottom part there, representing that. So first of all, we've got to add all these numbers up. So the first one we've got on the way down, 15. 15 is here. The next number along is this one, 50. 50. Next one down, 20. 20. Then it goes out, 20. 20. It goes down, 45 to this point here. 45. We don't know this one yet. We've got one at the bottom, 15. So we could add those all together, couldn't we? So 5, 10, 15. Under the line. Oh, there's a lot of numbers. Now I'm really rubbish at adding up numbers in my head, so I just go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We got this one under here. We'll go there, 165. So we know all of those numbers added up are 165, but we don't know what that is. This here. So if we took that as a full circle with the centre there, we know the radius is 70. So that means as it's a circle, this will be 70 as well. So the diameter is 140. So we need to know the circumference of the whole of the circle. So C equals pi d. So pi 3.14 times 140, which I'll have to do on my calculator. 3.14 times 140 equals 439.6. All the way around. 439.6 all the way around. We only want a quarter of that circle there, because that's how it it looks in the drawing, doesn't it? So then we get 439.6 divided by 4. So divided by 4 equals 109.9. So we call it 110. So we've got 110 plus 165. 572. So the whole of that, all added together, gives us a 275. So we want 400 times 275 millimeters. So that's the cutting list. So the next thing to do to work out how to put that onto a sheet of metal. So if we've got a big piece of metal that might not be square like that, what we need to do is we need to get either an engineer square, or we've got some of these normal carpentry squares, I would probably say. So the first thing to do is to work out whether we've got a square corner. Yeah? If we haven't, we need to come all the way in until we have, like this. Then we would draw a line up it. This is all on the sheet of steel. Like that. Put it under the guillotine and cut that off. What we can do on here is we could draw a little pattern like that to show that we know that's the square corner. Now that corner, we call that a datum. So that is where all our measurements would go from. So once we've got the guillotine and we've cut this piece off, we know that we're doing the first one, as an example, 400 by 205. We're going to say that this piece of metal is big enough, so it's bigger than 400 this way and it's bigger than 205 that way. So we would get the ruler, or rule, steel rule, whichever you're using, and you would measure up. We'd go this way first, to be honest. We come across here, 205. That way we're going to waste the least amount of steel. You could measure 205, put a line. You could measure 205, put a line. Scribe the line all the way across the steel. Now when you measure this and this, they should be equal, 205 at both ends. If they're not, you've done something wrong and this is crooked. Yeah? So chop off that whole piece and we're left with this piece. You measure across it, 400, look up, 400's here, look up, now 400's here. Scribe a line and we chop that piece off on the guillotine. That's going to leave us a little unusual shaped piece, a nice square that we can probably make something out of, and a nice big piece that we can make something out of. If we would have done it this way round, we would have had to cut it there, and there, and we'd end up with various funny shaped pieces. So we're trying to keep it as good as possible like this. The next one, again, 400. So this was 400. In the next piece of steel, we're going to do the same thing, and it's going to be 165. The same thing, and it's going to be 275. That gives us the 3 pieces of steel that we want to be able to make what we're going to be able to do. So I will do that, and then I'll make another video to show you how to bend it. Okay, so we've got a piece of steel here. I'm going to check the corner. And that is square, so that can be our datum. Datum, all the measurements come from your datum because you know it's square, and it stops you getting errors later on. I've got my piece of paper here so I can remember what I'm doing. So, first one we were going to make is 400 by 205. So, I've got a nice long rule, got a tape, but the tape is a bit bent at the end, so that's probably not a very good one. But I'm just going to show you anyway. And we've got another rule, another steel rule, only goes up to 300. So that'll do for us at the moment because we're going to do the narrow part across the bottom. So using a scriber, I'll put it against the edge. If you really want to, you can put something like that against the edge. Push it against it, then you know it's square. And put a line on 205 like this. When I come higher up, I can put it against there to make sure it's against the edge of the the line 205. Yeah, so 205 millimeters. 20.5 centimeters. I put my scriber on one of the lines and I slide the rule up against it. Find the other line, line it up, hold it, one line, all the way down. Then I come back and I can just do a quick check, 205, 205, yeah, 205. Then I'm just going to go and cut that off on the guillotine and then I'll be back, edited back. Okay, back again. I'll cut the steel like this. For any students, when you're doing this, if you've not worked with steel, what you've got to be careful of is when you cut an edge, it gets a really sharp burr on it. So, if you're doing it, we always recommend that you wear some gloves. We've got different types of gloves, but you want the lightweight ones that are just going to stop you from running your fingers along an edge and cutting yourself. I'm going to demonstrate without it because I'll put the gloves on when I go and do the other parts. But just while I'm doing this measuring, I'm not going to wear it. So this is piece number 1 that we talked about, and it's got to be 400 by 205. So we know it's 205 and we know it's square at the moment. I've checked it, rechecked it. This is the piece that was cut off. So because these are square, this has to be square as well. Good, yep. So I'll put that on there so I know what piece of steel I'm using next. Okay, coming from the datum, we can put it on 400 and we can put a line at the top, like that. Or if I had more room, I could do it the other way around. I could do this and do it that way. So either way it's fine. Get it nice and accurate, close to the edge, put a line like that. Scribe on one line, slide it down, bring it into the next line, there, hold it tight, scribe your line, check it. Yeah. Classic thing they always say in anything like this is measure twice, cut once. So I'm going to go and cut that piece of steel off. Okay, done. Check it, 400, 400. Then by all rights, each corner will now be square. So this is piece number 1. This is 205 by 4. So set that aside. I'll write my name on it. There's a load of you, so that no one loses it. And I've got the next piece. So I've got 2 more pieces to cut. 165 by 400 and 275 by 400. If I measure this, it is 340 wide. So if I was to think about doing the 165, that's there. That's not really very good. The 275 is there. So that's going to be best use of the material. So repeat the procedure. So 275 there. 275 there. Scribe on the line. Find the second line. Nice accurate pressure. Draw it all the way down. Check it. 275. 275. 275. Sometimes when you put this under the guillotine, you can't quite see where the line is. So what you can also do is you can put a little cross on the ends, and that just helps you align it. I'll go and cut that, and then I'll be back. Okay. Cut the width. So we can line this one up with it. Like that. We've got to cut the length, haven't we? So, again, we'll do the same thing as last time. Put this on. It's on the 400. Scribe a line. 400. Scribe a line. Go to the top. There you go. Slide it on. Bring it down. Just move it a tiny bit. Pressure. One go. Nice line there. Let's check it. 400. 400. These are all going to be welded together eventually, so if I line this one up again, here, I can see it's exactly right. Okay, I'm going to write on it now what it is. 275 by 400. We know it's a piece of material. Actually, it's number 3 on our cutting list because it was wider, so we're using the metal really well. And I want to put my name on it so I don't lose it. MP. We've got the datum in the corner. So all I've got to do is go and cut that off now. Okay, so we've run out of the small pieces. So I had to cut a bit bigger one up. When it's a little bit bigger, I'll make sure I wear gloves as well. When it's a little one, as you can see, that's not big enough. Doesn't quite make the 400 that way. And 400 is a set size, so what we have to do is have to turn it around. So just looking at that, I know that I can get my 400 up that way, and I can easily get a 165 across this way. But is it square? No, that one isn't. What we can do at the moment is we can turn it over and we can try this one. Yeah, that's good. You can use these pens, always rub off the oil that's on there to protect them. So we know that's a square side. Now we're just going to repeat the thing we did before. It's a little bit more awkward now because it's not resting on here, is it? So what we could do, we could think about doing it the other way around. So we could maybe measure the 400 first, then we can get it on the table because we can come along this way and do the other measurement. So let's try that. Just going to take these off while I measure. So we know we've got to come from the datum, and we need to go along 165, 165, there, 165. Going to turn it, there's the line, scribe on it, slide it on, hold it tight. One line up to the 165. This time we're getting a bit better at it. I'll check it again. This time I'm going to go for the both cuts in one go. Ooh. So I'm going to go to here, 400. Here, 400. Find a slightly shorter wheel. Put that on, 1 second mark, push it over. Now it's a little bit more complicated, so we're going to put across and across for what we need. So what I'll do is I'll cut this one first, make it more manageable, then I'll cut the second. It's a bit bigger, so I'll put my gloves on. I'll be back. So technically piece number 2. So we look, 165, 165, 400, 400, check it against my other piece. Well, so a millimetre off, that in there, it's got a tiny bit, obviously cut slightly crooked in the guillotine. So if I was to put this on here, it's pretty square. We'll leave that for a minute and hopefully we'll be right. This is piece 2, 165 by 400. There's the datum. There's my initials. Slide across, so we've got them in order and they all look really good. Okay, so we'll look at this one again. So we know that this one is the really complicated one, the bending one. Now this one doesn't need any bending at all. And this one here has got to be made into a top hat section, as we call it. So it comes down like this. The reason they call it a top hat section is it's a little bit like a top hat. Like this. Not that type of top hat, but with different measurements it would be. So we will do number 1 first of all. Basically, if we imagine this is our piece of steel, we know that with the measurements we had, that it's 15 up and 20 in. So we're going to have to go 15, 20. Like that. 15, 20 from the side. So what we're going to do, the way we're going to do it is the first line, this is just a nice quick easy way of doing it, not as accurate as if we were to do it with a rule, but there you go. We'll put a line down like that, that will give us this line here. When we put that under the folder, that will fold upwards. So we know it's a top hat section, so that means we've got to turn it over. The next one folds from the other side. So that means that the 20 will have to be the opposite side. Yeah? Right. So this is on 15. I'm going to put 15 down on the outside. Ideally, we would work this out from the datum so we don't lose any measurements, but now we're at this point, I think we'll be fine. So, put across on the fold lines, 15, 15, 15, 15. Then we turn it over. Now we can't go 20, we have to add the 15 and the 20 together, don't we? 15 and 20. So that means we have a line 35 mil. So, because we have to add the two together. 35. 35, put across. Then when it comes to folding it, we put it in, or we can bend it, or we can fold it this way. On the first one, turn it over, next one, fold it. Yeah? So that's sheet 1 with the folding line. Sheet 2, we haven't got to do anything with it. Then we come to sheet 3. This is a little bit more complicated, so we have to work this out a little bit better. Okay, so this one is, say, a lot more complicated. First of all, I've got lines on here, so I'm going to clean it off. My skin is not coming into contact with any of the degreaser, so otherwise I would put gloves on. And that would be nitrile gloves. But all the degreasers on the cloth. Okay. Right, so we think about it on this piece of paper. What we've got to achieve is this, straight, curve, like that. So we did this already, but I'll do it again. 15, 15, 20, 20, a line there, 45, one here is 15. Because we've worked out the size of the metal, if we put all these lines on, from that end, and then this one from this end, the piece left, we shouldn't have to measure it, because that should be the right measurement, which was 109.9, 110. So once we do it, if we've got 110 millimeters left, then we know we've done it right. So these also, like the last one, fold on different sides. So you've got an inside fold, outside, inside, outside. Yeah. So it always, the machine always folds up to the line that you can see. So we've got to do that one up on that side, that one on that side, like this, like that, and then like that. That shows us that we've got two 15s on the outside. So the way that will work is, just as an example, the first 15. Like this. Like this. So they're going to bend. The second one is 50. So we've measured down 50. This is only rough. 50 gives the next line. Then 20. 20, like this, down to 45, like that, and then that last bit would be the curve, like that. Yeah. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of how to do it. What we could do with this is we could go in, out, inside, outside. So if we went inside on here, we know that the first one we're going to do is this one. So not that one, the next one along. So it's going to be 50 plus 15. So it's going to be 50, 15, 65. 5 in, from this end. So on here I can do it with this still, it's not too big. 5 on there, fully on there, making sure there's no holes along the edges. And I can go cross on either end, and I want to write 65 on it so that we know what we're doing. Right, there's only one more fold on this side, and it's this one. So we're going to go 15, 50, 20, 20. So we knew it was, that added up to 65, and we know that 2 2s are 4, so they're 40. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 105. So we're going to go 105 to there. Now, as this gets bigger, it's easy to be inaccurate with it, so it's worth checking that it's 105, which is, yeah. So that method is good for a short one, but not always for a long one. Now it's important that we keep this edge here the same, so we spin it this way, otherwise it's going to get really confusing. Really pretty. We don't want to get it any more confusing, do we? So 15 is going to be my first one on this side. 15 all the way down. We know we've got 2 15s. 15. Next one along is the 20. 15, 50, 20. So 5, and then we got 5, 6, 7, 85. 85. That didn't go too well. Again, check the line. 85 fine. Cross, cross. So we're going to count the fold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got this one as well. That is on the outside, but we're going to want to put a tiny fold in that. So really that should be here. Easiest way of doing that, rather than coming from the end, it's pretty bad I must admit, but I'll do 45 from that line to that one. 45, 45, find it, and then three, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got all the lines marked on that one. Now, what I'll do is I'm just going to make a small narrow piece, probably about as wide as this rule, cut off to the same width. I'll put those lines onto this piece of metal, and then I'll use this piece of metal to fold first to make sure that it all goes smoothly. So I'm just going to go and get another piece now. Okay, well I've got a bit, it's a little bit wider than that piece now, but that doesn't really matter. I'm going to do the same thing on this. I'm going to put out on there, and then with a scribe, the edges lined up. Put these lines on. Rotate it. Rotate it. There. Practice. Okay, box and pan folder. These are all removable so that you could fold something a bit shorter with an edge on it, but we don't need to worry about that on this one. Ideally, with this closed, they should all be in line, and there should be the thickness of your metal between the edge of the tip, the blades, and this part we're lifting up. So I've got my piece of steel, and what we're going to do is we're going to start from the 15 on the end with the most part. So this is like this. So that section has to be rolled. So this section here will be rolled. And we're going to start from this end, and we're going to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will be the roll, 7 will be the last fold. Hopefully it'll work. So you can either do it this way or this way. Push this all the way down. Make sure it's square. And I say this one is, so we come up to 90 degrees. We can alter these later on, but the idea now will be to check with a square that is square. I'm going to go with it. So 1, 2. These are all 90-degree bends because I've got my drawing there. 3. All 90-degree bends. 4. 4. Okay, so that lines up perfectly now. Now we've got number 5. 5 needs the tiniest bend. It is not 90 degrees. It is just not even 30. It's probably about 15 degrees. I'm going to go on that one. Okay, then we would do the rolling. Okay, so I've got the rollers. With this, you can either go up or down. This is the one that actually pinch rollers that actually deviates the angle of the metal. So I either need to wind this all the way up or all the way down, depending on which way I want to bend. So the idea is that if you wind them all the way up, see that one turned more times. Yeah. So put it all the way up. They don't finish in the same places, but they're close. So the next thing is, these are just the pinch on them. So I put the metal in and I get it, so it just pinches it and it's in there. Just put it in. Just pinches it, yeah? They have to all be even, otherwise you'll end up rolling a cone. Right, so I want to roll this slightly down. This line I folded is going to give me the a little stop. So when I feel that line, I know not to go any further. So I can put it in the middle, put it that way. So I'm going to go underneath like this. And then I'm going to equally wind this down so it keeps square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just touching. No pressure yet though. 7, 8, 9. So it's just touching. Wind it backwards and forwards. Right, so it's not doing anything yet. Here we go again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put it in. Just start to roll it, and then you can feel it jump in just a little bit when it gets to that line. Alright, so it's not too bad. Any of these we can reset after if they're not quite right. So that's the rolling. It's not brilliant, it's a little bit much there and not enough there, but we can worry about that after. Back to here, so we've got all this done pretty well. We're just going to put the last fold in, number 7, to here. Now this is, you've got to try and imagine that flat base under there lining up with this one. So it's not a 90-degree fold. So the idea is that it sits flat when it's done, like this. It's going to take a little bit of bending around, but what we're after eventually is that this will fit here. So you can see it's going to need a little bit more bending just to get that right. Touch more in there. But on a short one we can just manipulate it quite easily. A bit of bending there. That line isn't quite right now, so let's put it back in. Hold it a little bit higher. This one wasn't quite square either, but when we do it for proper, we'll check it was square. This is the piece that doesn't get bent, so the idea is that this has to fit that, and you can see now that that's pretty good. So now we've just got to do it to this one. So, easiest way is to work out the 1s, 2s and 3s on here and write them on. So I'll just get my pen and I'll be back. Okay, I think it's a slightly better view from that side. So what I've done is I've taken the 1s, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 roll, 7 from this onto this. That's my template. So number 1, I can put it all the way in or to here. So what I tend to do is get it really close, and then I use my fingers here to push it in until the line is right on those. Then I clamp it down. Pick up with it now while through on the floor. And then be careful how you bend down, so you don't stab yourself. You're going to bring this up. It's a little bit harder to fold now, it's longer. And we're going for 90 degrees. Pretty close to 90. If you're doing it, ideally give it a little check with a square. Right, so number 1 folded. Spin it over. I've put big circles around them so they're obvious which are the numbers, because I've got a lot of things written on here now. Number 2, clamp it all the way up 90 degrees. Spin it over. Number 3, few more seconds getting it lined up will save you having to redo it if it goes wrong, because these often go wrong. 3, just putting it over number 4. You can zoom in on these have all been abused a little bit and hit with hammers by impatient students. So these really need machining, and then we need students not to tap them with a hammer. There's a slight variation on that where the gaps are different, so tweak it a little bit. 4, right, so now we're on 5. 5 was the one that only went a tiny bit. So get it in, line it up, tiny little bit. You can measure that in degrees, I should imagine. We were keen. It's all looking pretty good. We can check it to the template we made. Yeah, don't look too bad. So now the rolling. Right, the rolling is going to be slightly different because it's going to be harder to bend because there's more length to it. So what I can do is I can put it in and just give it a little go on the setting it's on until it pops. Notice it's hardly bent at all. So I'm going to bring it back out. 1, 2, 3. Bring it in. It pops. Still not far enough. 1, 2. It's getting a bit closer. Pop. Take it out and have a look. So as long as that looks like that is about 15 millimeters past the end. Let me know we're about right with that. So that'll do for the roll. Last fold. Okay, last fold. Push that in, and then arm up. Go into the line. Now remembering this is the angle we're after, based on the back part of that blade. So when this comes up, it can be about level with this. Not too bad. Take it out. Right, on the centre plate. That's good enough. It just needs a tiny squeeze in to be spot on. The angle isn't too bad either. Okay, last folds. Okay, last fold. So we've got the centre piece didn't need any folds. The outer piece we've done all the folds and the radius. This is the last one. So this is quite simple. Got 2 from one side, 2 from the other. In. One point, 90 degrees. Do both sides the same. Both edges. Get it in there. Fold. Rotate. This time I'm going to do it inside the machine. The line. 90 degrees. take it out, and then this part should fit this one, which it does. So this is how the three pieces will go together. Spot on. And that is the next job. I'm going to work out the spot welds and put the spot welds on. Okay, so spot weld location. What I'm going to do on here, I've taken the burrs off so it's not sharp. I'm going to use my finger, and you could equally use this. But I'm going to just use my finger to make the line along the centre, because the spot welds are going to need to go in the centre. Yeah. So it's just for visual purposes on here, so you can see the lines. But I'd say normally you measure the width is 15, you do half of that, 7.5. Put that down like that. Spot welds. Over this distance, what we're going to do is we're going to go 20, and then every 30 we're going to put another line. So 20, so 1, 2, 3, 50, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, 26, 20 mil left. Yeah? These are my spot weld lines. I'll just put those on the other pieces of the metal. Okay, so got the lines drawn on. Put the pieces together. What I'm not going to do on this particular video is spray weld through primer on, which you would have to do on a real car, and ideally you will do that when you do this test piece as well. I'm not going to do it because it's I'm a bit out of time and they're going to kick me out of the college in a minute, so I've got about 20 minutes left. I just want to get this sorted. Squeeze these all in so they're all dead level. Dead level. Clamp it. Next thing, to the spot welder, and then we're done. Okay, so I've turned the machine on as per the spot welding video that you can get a recap from. I've done a test piece. Now don't forget, we're welding 3 pieces together, so 3 sections together, which means that you need a 3-section peel test, which might come out lovely. So there we go. So I'm going to put this under, and we're going to put spot weld in. What we'll do is we'll put them in. Some on each side, and then we can get rid of the clamps. So 3 on that side. Don't need that anymore, that makes it a little bit lighter. Put 1 on this end. Can't quite get to it. That'll be a little bit awkward. A little bit close to the edge. Now, I've got my gloves on, I've got glasses on, my boots, and I've got my overalls. Right, that's the case of running along and finishing them all off. good? Careful, it's hot. Take the love off to you, Tony.